guys, it's your girl KylieJ here and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is part 2 for my episode editing and drawing school. And today I'm going to be focusing on outlining characters. I suspect that today's video is going to be a little on the short side, but I'm going to see how much information I can get put into here. So let's get started. Okay, so I am once again screen recording on my iPad, and I have learned a little bit. So for this video, I'm going to be starting off with you seeing my face. So before we go too much further, I want to say that in my editing and drawing school, I am doing things in multiple parts and in a particular way so that it is easy to follow along from start to finish. So since today is part 2, there's obviously a part 1. I will have that linked in the description box. That is the absolute basics and how to begin literally from the beginning. I create a whole new story. I start with making my own character. I pose them, screenshot, make a very simple pose, and that is that. So if you haven't seen that and you think that you should, then you can go ahead and watch that first and then come back to this one when you're done. So for today's video, I am going to be using the same exact pose that I had made in the first video, just because, why not? So once you're ready to start outlining your character, this is more so if you want to draw the character completely. If you're editing, you don't have to do this. So once you have the character in the pose that you want and you're ready to start tracing, you can do one of two things, and this depends on what your style is. You can either trace the character using just flat black, and that's really what I tend to use most of the time, or you can pull the colors off of the character and then trace them using those colors. I will show you both ways so you can see what I mean. So the first thing you want to do, you want to go to brush, and what we're going to do, since I am using black first, you want to slide down the opacity. I usually keep it around 30, so once you turn down the opacity, you want to click the plus button here to add a new layer, and you want to make sure that is on 100% opacity. You also want to make sure it is the layer on top, because if you have it underneath and you're trying to trace under the character, you're not going to see anything, so make sure it's on top. You're going to go to brushes, and for outlining characters, I use the dip pen hard. We're going to go to black, and up here at the top where this little shaking finger is, you want to make sure that the stabilizer right here is on at 10, and what that helps to do is stabilize your drawing. It just makes it a little less shaky. So just for S and G's, we're going to go like this. So this has the stabilizer. With the stabilizer off, it looks a lot more rough. So you should always want to turn on the stabilizer because it just helps more. When I am outlining my characters though, I sometimes turn off the force fade, I turn it back on, I adjust where it's at. But when you turn on the force fade, it defaults to 40% for the length of the start and the end. So let me just show you really quick what that is. So at 40% for both, that's how your line looks. 100% for both, like that. It fades it out nicely so that you don't have a blunt stop and finish like this. You can also, if you want the start of it to be thicker and then fade into a line, or a tapered edge I should say, you can turn off the start, leave it on 100% for the end, and then you have something like this. You can also change the shape of the fade from either this rounded tip or a smooth or linear. It's more pointy basically. So let me turn this up, make the size a bit bigger. So that's with the linear, and that's with the smooth. To me, there's not that much of a difference. I don't know if that's just the way that I'm using it, but I typically keep it on smooth. So I typically start in the face, because that's just what I usually do. So making sure I'm on layer 2, I'm going to zoom in, and I need to choose the correct size that I want the outline to be. You don't want it to be really thin that you have a hard time seeing it, but you don't want it to be so thick that it just looks gaudy. So I also usually change the size of the outline multiple times throughout my picture, because you're not going to use the same size to outline the face as you would the nose. So I'm going to go with the size 4 for the outline for face. And I'm also going to turn on the force fade, but just a little bit, just so there's a slight tapered edge. So I'm going to go ahead and outline, and I will speed through this, and then when I stop again to share some more information, I will pop myself back on the screen. If there are any areas of your outline that it doesn't really look the way that you want, such as right here in this chin area, you can always use this little button here. It says special, and it's a liquify pen. And what you can do is make it a little bit bigger. You can use this to kind of pull the outline closer to your character. And I will go back over that just to smooth it out a little bit. So sometimes, like today, for some reason, I'm having a hard time outlining. So sometimes I will just use that liquify pen to touch it up a little bit so that you're not erasing, drawing repeatedly. So we're going to go back to the brush and go over top just to smooth that out. And then just erase a tiny bit so it doesn't look quite so thick. Okay, now before we go and erase any more, I want to show you guys about the different sizes. So I used the 4 to outline pretty much the whole thing, but when I'm doing smaller things such as the fingers and the face and even the hair, I tend to use a smaller brush, and I also turn the force fade up higher. So we're going to put it at 2. Yeah. So we'll put it at 2, and then we'll put the force fade, let's see how it looks, at 50. Okay. A lot of this stuff just depends on what you think looks best and your personal preference. So don't think that you have to exactly follow what I'm suggesting. Okay, so we're gonna start over in the ear, and this looks a little silly, so I'm just going to erase it, and I'm going to redraw it with the smaller size and the force fade on, and then we're just gonna trace part of the inside of the ear. Erasing the outline is also a really good opportunity to kind of draw it the way you want to draw it. Sometimes I don't always follow the outline exactly, such as on the lips here. It can be kind of hard to see sometimes because some of the assets, even with screenshotting from the app and having a more clearer image, it still gets really pixely sometimes when you try zooming in, and it makes it a little difficult to get an exactly perfect outline. So when you're doing this, don't worry too much about making it perfect and exact. Just try to have fun with it and try a different style, try something new. So for the necklace here, I'm going to turn the force fade down a little bit just because it gets kind of hard to see at the end. Now I'm going to go back through, and anywhere where lines are overlapping, I am going to erase and then just touch it up so that the outline is more seamless. So once you are done outlining, a good thing to do would be to turn off the original drawing just to see how your outline looks. And then from here you can get a clearer picture as to how it looks and if you like it or not. And then from here you can go on and make changes as you see fit. But for the most part, this is how to make an outline basically. And this is also the same technique that I use to make these outlines here. So since this is done, I am going to turn this layer off. I'm going to turn the original back on, and I'm also going to turn the opacity back up. And now I'm going to show you how to make an outline using the character's actual colors. So you're going to want to make another new layer, and you're going to want to pull all the colors off of the character itself. So for the outline, this here is about the darkest color. You don't have to click on the eyedropper tool here to pick up the color. If you just click on brush and then you press and hold on the screen like this, there. It gives that little pop-up thing, and then you can move it around and pick up different colors. So I'm going to use this to pick up this dark outline. And then once you have the color down here in the bottom, you're going to click on that square, and I have a lot of colors in here for some reason. Once you have like a nice clean slate basically, aside from all these default colors up here, all you have to do is click on here and drag to a square and drop it, and then you have that color here in your wheel. And I recommend doing it this way because let's say we selected this color and now we're going to start outlining, but you have to turn this opacity down first, and then you go like this, and then you want to pick up the color on the neck here. You're gonna have to go back to here, turn it back up, select this color again, turn it down, back to here, do this. So it just makes it a little bit easier if you keep the colors in here for easy selecting, if any of that made any kind of sense. So now I try and work in small groups when it comes to selecting colors so I don't get confused. So once I pick the darkest outline color, then I go and I start picking the darkest shade, moving that here, and then I try and find like the middle color, the actual color of my skin tone or the character's skin tone. And then I usually click on the nose tip for the absolute lightest. And then there are the 4 base skin tones. Then I'll usually move on to the rest of the facial features like the lips. Now usually when I do my drawings, all I draw is the skin, everything on the skin, the facial features, and then when it comes to the clothing, I usually do the same thing that I showed you in the last video where I screenshot it from the catalog. So just for S&Gs, I will pull the colors from the clothing and just go through that as well. So here are pretty much all the colors of the character that we would be using for drawing, but just for today's video I'm outlining. So I have all of the colors that I need. So what we're going to do is turn the original picture back down to a low opacity, and then we're going to go to our main picture, and again you have to make sure this is above on the highest layer. And we're just going to outline the same exact way that we did with the plain black outline, but this time you want to make sure you're using the right color for the right thing. So to outline the skin, we're going to use this darker color. And I'm going to use this for the face, the eyelid right here, the nose, the fingers here, there, and then to outline the legs. So I'm going to speed through that, and I will be back when we move on to the next color. Okay, so those are all of the areas where I needed to use the skin tone outline for the skin. That was a great description. So now I'm going to move on to everything else in the face, starting with the lips. And then once you think you're all done, once again, turn off the original picture and see how your outline looks. And this one, you will see the different colors that you had pulled from the character themselves. Oh, I forgot to add the top of her shirt right here. And once you have that done, then you are ready to get started on drawing your character. I feel like the black ones, if anything, are more popular with outline contests on the episode forums, just because it's a blank slate and you can do whatever you want with it. I typically use the colorful idea. I will show you guys what I did. Here is an example of me using the colored outline to make a drawing of myself. This is what I did. You can obviously tell that I just cut and pasted the clothing onto here, but I drew everything from the skin to the hair, everything in the face. So yeah. With this tutorial that I'm doing here, I will end up showing you guys how to make a painting like this one, but that'll be in one of the more drawing specific videos. So yeah, this is kind of just getting started with drawing. I think the next video I do will probably be editing either skin or hair, or maybe both together, depending on how long it is. And then I will slowly work up to coloring in this outline. So yeah, I think that is all that I have for today's tutorial. Like I said in my previous video, I have a list of the different tutorials that I want to make with editing and drawing. However, if there's anything in particular that you would like to see me focus on, please let me know in the comments down below and I can add that to my list if it's not already on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, which I really hope you did, I would really appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up so that I know that I'm doing something right here. And definitely share this with your friends as well. All of my social media and everything is down in the description box below, along with my own episode stories, so you can check all of that out, and you can follow me on Instagram. And with all that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to see all of your beautiful faces next time. Bye. I actually kissed my fingers on that one, and now they're all sticky.